Skirmishers, the also deadly ranged component of your war machine. Used correctly, they can absolutely devastate units and can be the difference between victory or defeat. However, using them incorrectly can be a huge waste of resources, money and potential damage output. I see a lot of people in online battles just using them terribly, look like they don't have a clue what they're doing, when, where or why. So in this video I'm going to try and talk you through a few things and explain how to use skirmishers effectively. Okay, typically at the start of a land battle, both armies will send their skirmisher units forward to engage in long range combat. The winner can give themselves an advantage in the later game, or take the opportunity to do some damage to the melee units before they advance. The winner of the skirmish can kind of be predicted if you know the units and you know what units you have and what units they have, and which ones match up well against each other, or if you're severely outnumbered or outmatched. It might just be a good idea to avoid the skirmish altogether, at the penalty that your melee units may take a bit more missile fire, but there's no point sending your skirmishers on a suicide mission. Usually after this the losing army will advance instead of just sitting there taking missile fire, so then you move your skirmishers back behind the melee line where they can either pepper the incoming forces or be saved for the later game where they can be really devastating. There are three main types of skirmisher in Rome 2. Slingers, archers and javelin men. Slingers have the most ammo, long range, shields so they can deflect incoming missiles, but they do the least damage and can suck against armour. Archers, they also have good range but some a little bit shorter. They can shoot over things like walls and buildings. They're good against pretty much all units, light or heavy. They also do a good amount of damage, but they have less ammo than slingers and no shields, so no deflecting missiles for them. Javelin men, they have high damage, great armour piercing which makes them useful against heavier units. They can be slightly better in melee, and they have shields, but they have the shortest range and not a lot of ammo. Okay, so I'm just going to demonstrate the differences between shooting different kinds of ammo at different kinds of armour. So I've got slingers here. I'm going to be shooting at these Persian light archers who have pretty much no armour, and as you see these slingers are going to cut them down pretty damn quick. That was after 3 or 4 volleys. Now if I get these slingers still to focus on heavy archers who have 40 armour, you can see slingers coming in, not really doing a lot of damage. No kills yet. 3rd and 4th volleys start to knock a few lives off, but no major damage to the heavier unit. Certainly not as much as I did to the light archers. Now if I bring up some archers, fire up on these heavy archers once again, and although they're a little bit weakened already, they are going to take a lot more casualties than the slingers were doing. Now, does this mean that slingers should never be used on heavier units? No, of course not. Some of the more expensive units like Balearic slingers, they have pretty good armour piercing which does make them a little bit more effective against armoured units, but probably still not as effective as bows. What I'm getting at altogether with this is ammo management. Choosing the right kind of ammo to take down the right kind of armour. Using your cheap slingers against something like Azat Knights or Praetorian Guard is just going to be a waste of ammo. Save that ammo for the light cav, for the hillmen, for the other light skirmishers. If you've got javelin men, don't waste them on a lightly armoured wolf warrior unit. Save it for those Oathsworn that are on their way to kick your fucking head in. So choose your targets wisely. Focus fire, one of the single most important things in skirmishing. This is when you take multiple units of your skirmishers and aim them at one particular enemy unit. This is going to completely decimate the enemy unit quickly and hopefully rout them permanently. This is generally seen as more effective than letting them fire at will at random targets, or firing single units on single units. You could of course split them up and fire say 2 units on one unit and then another 2 units on another unit, but again you have to think about what type of ammo you're using against what type of armour. Friendly fire is real. Very often you'll see this scene where you've got 2 melee units stabbing each other in the face, and then there's a friendly unit of skirmishers behind shooting over their own unit's head into the enemy. This is very dangerous because the friendly unit's back is exposed to the missiles, which means they could potentially take more damage from them. And as for the enemy unit, they're facing the missiles, and if they've got shields, which most melee units do, they've got a chance to block those missiles. Overall, the damage that you're going to do to the enemy unit probably isn't worth the ammo and the friendly kills. I'd just like to give kudos for this guy for fighting his way through the entire unit to kill that guy and then getting pathetically stabbed. Good effort, bro. You'd be better off trying to flank round to the sides so you can hit them from the sides, or better yet, try and hit them in the back. Again, you may take a little bit of friendly fire damage, but it's going to be worth it from these angles. Don't bunch your units up. When you've got 3 units of archers and you put them all inside each other like this clown does, when he's got plenty of room to spread them out, you're just asking for it, my friend. This pretty much means that any skirmishers firing at them can't really miss. Flaming shot. Great for pissing off elephants, burning down towers, burning down doors, and burning down siege equipment. And of course, reducing the morale of beaten up units. But beware, this penalty applies to everyone. Here in this online battle, my teammate is playing as the Gate, and he's got his Dacian bowman firing flaming shots into a big crowd of enemy Romans and our units. As you can see, he's now routing his own unit with flaming shot. He's affecting my morale and the enemy morale. And given that everyone in this area has taken the morale penalty, his unit's half dead, the enemy unit still has over 100 men, and my unit's half dead as well. So you can tell who's going to waver here. And he actually does end up routing our 2 units and not the Romans. So be careful with flaming shot and read its damn description. Are you looking for a great way to waste ammo? Try shooting up at walls. This is almost completely pointless, as the amount of ammo you're going to use for the amount of damage you're going to do is really not going to pan out. So unless you can get an angle, try shoot them in the side or even the back somehow, then don't bother shooting up at walls, because most of your missiles are just going to hit the wall, bounce off and land in the floor, like so. Again, ammo management, save it for the late game where it can really make a difference. Now this little piece of genius I like to call the wall trap. Basically it's going to involve clogging up the doorway that goes up to walls so that the enemy cannot get down from the walls, and while they're stuck up there you can absolutely hammer them, and I mean hammer them, in the sides and back with missiles, and there's pretty much nothing they can do about it. There's not really any defense for this, so here's this in action. Peltasts coming up to the wall, some veteran legionnaires up on the wall, and as you'll see they'll start dropping like mothers. So this is a good time to shoot up at walls, the only good time when there's nothing to block your shots. This will cut down heavily armoured units if you've got javelins. This is a great plan, I use this a lot, and people often don't respect it and can't counter it, so give this a go. Cav chase off. So what this is using your cavalry to chase off enemy skirmishers as they're about to come up and skirmish, which means your skirmishers can hit them in the back. Now I've got these cav over here looking out this way as if they don't care about the skirmish, they're just protecting my flank, but really I'm going to suddenly bring them over and chase them off. So the skirmish begins. He's got peltasts. I'm going to provoke them to come forward because obviously they're not just going to sit there and take fire. I'm using slingers on them, they are quite well armoured, but as you can see all of his units are well armoured, so I don't really have a choice. So I'm going to fire on a unit, and then as they're coming up to get in position to fire, I'm going to race my cavalry over to make them run away, and as they're going to run away they're going to get shot in the back, which is going to do a nice bit of extra damage. I probably could have got a cav charge in here, even though they are only Germanic riders, so they're not that great. But yeah, that's the cav chase off. Horses! Everyone knows that cavalry is the bane of skirmishers, so you have to be careful and try to defend against them as best as you can. Dogs! Even though their run animation here makes them look a little bit like cats, I am still waiting on Total War cat units by the way, dogs can be particularly disgustingly brutal against light and only light missile units. I've seen dogs tear through 2, 3, sometimes 4 units of light missiles easily, and the best way to stop them is to get some heavier melee troops into them. And finally, try not to get shot in the back. This hurts. Now defending your skirmishers from enemy cavalry is relatively simple. You just need to keep some spears and or cavalry nearby. As you see here, got my skirmishers along the front, got some spears in the middle of them, cavalry at the sides. So when I move my skirmishers up I can defend cav charges here and here. I could bring my spears out there and there, or I could bring my cav in from the sides to intercept. Then later on when my skirmishers are behind the line, I've still got some spears around and some cavalry as well, just in case. So keep your skirmishers protected. And with that I shall end this video. I know a lot of this can be hard to remember in the heat of war, but I hope you take something from it that can improve your game. I'll be doing these types of videos for other unit types as well, so keep an eye out for those.